O, isan yung ano, speaker. Nasa pa yung butas kayo na po. Hindi ko po magiging. Ito. May sound naman ho. Ano lang, hintay na lang po nyo.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Philippine Educational Publishers Association's the 2020 PEPA Forum with the theme The Changing Landscape in Educational Publishing, Reevaluate, Retool, Redesign. We will start our program with an invocation from PEPA Auditor, Ms. Cora Sapo, to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. God of all creation, we come before you today to give you honor and praise. You are worthy of praise. You are the source of all that is good. You are the source of all blessings. Thank you for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for the opportunity to come and gather together this day. We ask for your hand of blessing on this webinar entitled The Changing Landscape in Educational Publishing. We ask that you would guide and direct our webinar so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one and another. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work and our goals this day. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, ewas ang silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagatang pulong sa simoy, at sa langit ang pagaw, ay ginagang tulad.
Once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Russell Bolo, and I'm from PEPA. And you are at the 2020 PEPA Forum here at the Manila International Book Fair online. Changing times call for changes in the norm, especially in the landscape of educational publishing. In today's PEPA Forum, we have three important topics that will tackle on how the pandemic has transformed the concept of education with focus on the reading habits of the students, the emerging technologies that will help improve teaching and learning, and how educational publishers must reinvent their wheel to keep up with the times. And to start our program, let us now hear the welcome remarks from the PEPA President, Mr. Jose Paulo Sibal.
Subtraction.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our forum. Welcome to our panelists and reactors. First of all, let me talk a little bit about PEPA. PEPA was established in 1951 as an organization of educational textbook publishers. PEPA always strives to look into the needs of its members. Like, for example, every year we do planning and strategic planning and programs. What we couldn't foresee in our plans for 2020 was how hard we were hit by this pandemic. We had to throw out our strategic plans and programs and adapt to the new normal. Last year, Pepa had a conference called PepCon. This was held last year during the Manila International Book Fair, with foreign and local speakers. Our topic was blended learning. We discussed blended learning as an alternative for the Philippine educational situation. It is a fortuitous topic since now we use blended learning for all our scholastic learning in 2020 and looks like moving forward. This year, we also saw the advent of teacher made learning modules. Some private and public schools scrambled to create their own learning modules instead of using textbooks this year. This was a concern for copyright among the writers, illustrators, and publishers. Pepa's answer was to create a copyright campaign, which is still going until today. We partnered with educational school university associations such as Cocopea, SEAP, and PACU, among others, to make schools aware of the need to respect copyright. PEPA had a forum on copyright attended by thousands of educators last month. Today's forum focuses on reading, publishing tools, and planning for distant learning. All these topics are levers to assist the educational publisher in the new normal. I'd like to I'd like to welcome some of our guests today. Speaker Mr. Frederick Perez, President, Reading Association of the Philippines. Reactor Aurora Sikat, Board of Director, Philippine Board of Books for Young People. Miss Mary Ann Ordinario, author and publisher of children's book and a member of the National Book Development Board. Speaker Mr. Andre Candra, Chief Executive Officer, Persona Edu, Indonesia, Singapore. Reactors Jomini Manuel Abaya, Vice President of CNE Publishing, Mr. Lee Kang, Deputy Managing Director, Pelangi Publishing Group, Malaysia. Speaker Ms. Myla Katsav, General Manager, McGraw-Hill Educational Idea Academy, Inc. Reactors Paul Baloha, Head of Vibal Group, and Mr. Fidel Andrew De Jesus of F&J De Jesus Incorporated. The theme of today's forum is the changing landscape in educational publishing. Reevaluate, retool, redesign. The landscape of educational publishing has changed a lot. With the fast-changing times, the academic community is faced with many challenges from the physical classroom to online distance learning. All of these are brought by the pandemic. Gone are the days when the teachers and learners would come in contact physically in the process of learning, while there is nothing to compare the feeling of traditional book in one's hand. Transition to digital text is hard to ignore. Many classrooms and homes already have an abundance of ebooks and other literacy technologies. Parents should recognize the enormous potential that technology has on children's motivation to read and develop literacy skills. The expansion of electronic and social media in every nook and corner has affected the learners, learning especially their reading habits. Our forum today includes the reading habits of the students, the emerging technologies that will shape education to improve teaching and learning, and how publishers must reinvent the wheel to keep up with the times. We would like to thank Miss Irene Lorraine, Miss Tinette, and Miss Bernadette for allowing Peppa to go on board with the Manila International Book Fair and make this event happen. I would also like to thank our chairs of our PEPA program committee, Miss Rachel Bolo and Miss Sonia Santiago. Without further ado, let us sit back and listen and witness to the rest of our activities. Thank you and welcome everyone.
Thank you, Sir Paulo Sibal, for your welcome remarks. Okay, so before we introduce our speakers and our reactors, let me remind everyone that we will give an e-certificate after you've accomplished the evaluation form. The link will be provided later in the chat box, so make sure that you stay with us until the end of the program. Okay, so now let us get to know our speakers and our reactors. Ms. Sonia Breezy Santiago, PEPA Board of Director, will introduce them.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Good afternoon to everyone. I have the honor and privilege to introduce our three speakers and the six panel reactors
Okay. Whew.
in today's PEPA Forum. For
Okay.
the first topic on reading habits in the new normal, our speaker obtained his degree Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from the University of Santo Tomas, took a diploma in French Studies and Literature at the University of Aix-Marseille III and the University of Provence. Finished his master's degree in reading education at the University of the Philippines. As a teacher, he promotes reading and writing strategies he learned from the Reading Association of the Philippines and the International Literacy Association. He served the Reading Association of the Philippines as secretary and treasurer, where he is now the president, introducing Mr. Frederick Perez. For our reactors, for topic 1, Ms. Mary Ann Ordinario is the founder and directress of ABC Educational Development Center in Kidapawan City. She graduated in mass communications at the Philippine Women's University and underwent training in early childhood development at the University of the Philippines. She was a former broadcaster, scriptwriter, and head of research at the Notre Dame Broadcasting Corporation. She is an author and publisher of 35 children's books, 8 of which are translated into Bahasa Indonesia and Bahasa Malayu. Most of her children's books won the annual Catholic Mass Media Awards, the Singapore Kids Time Authors Award, and the ASEAN Children's Book Illustrator Best in Fiction at the Children's Content Festival at Chiang Mai, Thailand. Our second reactor for topic number 1 is Miss Aurora Sinaida Lourdes Chiquet. Simply call her Twinkle. She finished BS Family Life and Child Development and Masteral Degree in Reading Education at the University of the Philippines. Currently, she's teaching English at her alma mater, Poveda College, and an active board member of the Reading Association of the Philippines and the Philippine Board on Books for Young People. May I now call on Mr. Frederick Perez to deliver his topic.
Good afternoon, everyone. For this afternoon sharing, I'm tasked to talk about the reading habits of children in the new normal. As the community quarantine engulfed our nation and the whole world, the piece of literature which came into my mind was The Plague by Albert Camus. He wrote, "There have been as many plagues as wars in history, yet always plagues and wars take people equally by surprise. We thought we would live in normalcy until the great surprise of the lockdown, which jolted all of us. And until now, even with the new rules imposed on us, we are still wary to go out. Many of us, educators, are on online distance learning or ODL, while the majority of our population, especially in the public sector, follows the modular approach. As reading educators and literacy advocates, where has this COVID-19 pandemic brought us? How do we assess our students? How do we look and examine their reading ability behind a screen or from a distance in the modular approach? Many educators are thinking that the pandemic will bring havoc to the landscape of education, with schools doing the modular approach. Books and libraries are almost inexistent. While for those who are doing online distance learning, texts are sent either on digitized forms as ebooks and audiobooks, or even with textbooks. Of course, we do not discount the fact that the printed book is still used in both approaches. There are claims and counterclaims in the analysis of the reading habits of our children and youth in the new normal. The first claim: reading has stopped or has been disrupted. Here also presupposes that reading is only in print. There is no more reading because there's no school where the library is. As more and more children stay home from school, the risk of students becoming disengaged from or deprived entirely of their reading is higher than ever. With a shift from traditional face to face in schools to modular and online distance learning, students were taken from the seat of wisdom, the cradle where reading grows, the school. Still, most common reading curricula assume one key factor: that children are taught in person. The pandemic has left some students, particularly those who are struggling, to fall through the cracks. The disruption of education in schools has particularly stopped reading development because of the absence of the primary agent of reading, who is the teacher. Another factor to this claim is the dearth of reading materials at home. With no libraries open to serve students, it is perceived that it is possible or impossible, to read. How do we view this point? There we have a counterclaim. Reading continues in the new normal. With schools providing modules to public school students, reading still continues. Some public schools still provided textbooks as reference materials because of the Modified Conventional Learning or MCL, while the majority relied on modules focused on the most essential competencies or the MELCs. In private schools, there were also schools who followed the modular approach, while the majority implemented online distance learning or ODL, using both printed textbooks as reference materials and digital texts available online. Other schools have even come up with reading lists of children's books and novels to supplement their curriculum and provide extended literacy activities. So, can we say that reading has really stopped? Disrupted, maybe, especially during the stricter period of the lockdown. But even the quarantine period provided time for people to read and reread the materials available to them. In many countries, readers bought more books, just like other more essential items in the COVID-19 pandemic. Children's books are also high on demand because parents want to keep their children busy. I have also mentioned that some schools gave their summer reading lists in order to lessen the learning gap during the period of the pandemic and the long summer vacation. There are also online bookstores and online selling platforms here in the Philippines who provide for the needs of children and young adults for their reading needs. We cannot discount the fact that print still exists. It is here to stay. Life under lockdown has given people more time to read. In fact, the pandemic, though scary, promotes reading time and quality reading time. Other reading platforms like ebooks and audiobooks became also in vogue and in fashion. But probably you ask me, how can teachers help develop children's reading habits during the new normal? For those who are doing the modular approach, it is necessary that there is careful selection of texts which are age appropriate and adapted to the reading level of students. Reading expert and curriculum specialist Timothy Shanahan says that more challenging text may be given to students, but we have to exercise caution that they may not fall into frustration. The same advice is given to teachers during online distance learning, with additional counsel on exposing students to various types of text and media, narrative and expository, print and non-print. The task of online distance implementers is made easier with technology as a bridge. Teachers have developed various techniques to teach reading remotely and manage their students, although they are still finding it hard to accurately assess whether students are comprehending their lessons. The ability of teachers to work with students in small groups or breakout rooms and really see whether a student is comprehending lessons is critical in learning to read remotely. What do teachers do? Teachers in ODL explicitly teach reading through visual presentations shown to students during video conferencing and organizing learning blocks to support students who might be struggling in reading after synchronous sessions with the whole class. There can be remote reading conferences and online library explorations. Various reading strategies may be implemented, and most probably, when our government agencies already allow it, there can even be drive through libraries. How can parents or learning guardians help teachers develop the reading habit of children now that they are learning from home? Aside from the support in academic reading, it is important that family reading time established at home, whether in a structured way or in informal ways like while cooking, while reading a recipe, or assembling new appliances, reading a manual. Children need reading models at home, and this challenging task is a role which parents might want to take. Since the children are learning from home, the learning space may also be filled with reading materials to make the place a print-rich environment. If there is a dearth of reading materials at home, labels of canned goods and other food items, instruction manuals, and even the classic balutan ng tinapa may become a medium of reading instruction. Second claim, reading instruction can only be done by the teacher. No other person is capable of doing reading instruction. Literacy expert Richard Allington said that explicit reading instruction is best done by a specialist.
Okay, so I think we're experiencing some difficulty, technical difficulty. All right, can we go back again online? All right.
Nasend ko na po. Opo.
Okay. Let me remind everyone that we will issue an e-certificate after the program. So make sure that you stay with us until the end because later in the chat box, we're gonna um, place the or put the link, all right, for the evaluation. Okay. So make sure you type in your email addresses correctly, right, so that we can send you your e-certificate, okay, a few days after this session or after this program.
Wala po. Wala po. Opo.
Library explorations. Various reading strategies may be implemented, and most probably, when our government agencies already allow it, there can even be drive-through libraries. How can parents or learning guardians help teachers develop the reading habit of children now that they are learning from home? Aside from the support in academic reading, it is important that family reading time established at home, whether in a structured way or in informal ways like while cooking, while reading a recipe, or assembling new appliances, reading a manual. Children need reading models at home, and this challenging task is a role which parents might want to take. Since the children are learning from home, the learning space may also be filled with reading materials to make the place a print rich environment. If there is a dearth of reading materials at home, labels of canned goods and other food items, instruction manuals, and even the classic balutan ng tinapa may become a medium of reading instruction. Second claim, reading instruction can only be done by the teacher. No other person is capable of doing reading instruction. Literacy expert Richard Allington said that explicit reading instruction is best done by a specialist. This is true, but the pandemic pressing on us, the, the home becomes once again the seedbed of learning. And there goes my counterclaim. Literacy instruction may continue with the support of the community, who will continue the role of the reading teacher. It is more challenging for those who are implementing the modular approach, specifically for early readers. The Department of Education has sought help from communities, barangays, and municipalities to train learning guides to aid in literacy instruction. Teachers may also come and visit homes and communities for check-ins in order to help and assess literacy instruction. Other agencies also develop instructional materials like videos and other visual aids to support learning guardians and parents in the daunting task which is literacy development. TV and radio networks are valuable channels of literacy education now during the pandemic. Will the parents assume the role of the teacher? Well, in the modular approach, parental and community support is essential. Training programs are now being drafted by the Department of Education. The parent or learning guardian now becomes the reading teacher. It is essential that communities and schools collaborate so that we may sustain the literacy development and learning of our children. But what can parents do? If the parent or learning guardian is capable of literacy instruction, it is good to do read aloud and ask the teacher for strategies in reinforcing specific skills. Asking questions and sharing them develop the social aspect of reading. If the parent or learning guardian feels inadequate and the student lacks reading skills, it is best to seek support from family members, neighbors, and other individuals in the community. If the parent or learning guardian is confident about the student's skills in reading, he or she may do a read along to show support. In online distance learning, the parent or learning guardian is only a support because the reading teacher continues to assume the role. With the flexible learning approaches which we have employed in our different institutions, we have to employ various reading strategies at home and in school in order to maintain the literacy rate. Moving forward, we recommend some steps which can help us in analyzing or preparing for our current situation as literacy leaders. First of all, There's a need for research on literacy rate during the pandemic in order to have a clearer picture of the literacy gap, which might result from the approaches we have taken in our schools. Second, we can reflect and assess the impact of the lack of social interaction in the reading progress of our students. And number three, after all of this have been considered, we should identify the reading gaps which should be addressed when schools go back to the traditional face to face. With COVID 19 in our midst, we cannot yet fully say if there is truly a slide in the reading habits of children. What is important now is that we provide opportunities for literacy development and growth in our roles as parents and educators. We should excite and inspire our students to read. Let us be model readers to our young learners. As parents and teachers, let us provide our children with opportunities to read. Let us inspire them in building a world of readers. The new normal challenges the literacy landscape of our nation and of the world. Let us not be discouraged. Let us combine our efforts in building a reading nation and a new tomorrow. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frederick Perez. And now it's time to hear from our reactors. Okay, we will give them 5 minutes each for their talk. Okay, and for this topic, we will start with Miss Mary Ann Ordinario, the Director of ABC Educational Development Center, to be followed by Miss Aurora Caro Sicat, okay, the Board of Director for the Philippine Board on Books for Young People. So let's hear it now for Miss Mary Ann Ordinario.
In every crisis or difficult situation, we always have to change our ways or lifestyle. And we cannot deny that this happened abruptly when the whole world experienced this pandemic. We were all caught by surprise and we never expected that we will be caged in the four corners of our houses for a long time. A lot of people went through a difficult time losing their jobs, but there was one very important factor which most of us never considered. Do you know that most people find comfort in reading books? According to studies and survey, during this pandemic, most people wanted to read more and they turned to books for comfort and distraction. And parents did the same to their children. They read more to their children than usual. But of course, we can't deny that they are having more free time because everybody is staying at home, and books also serve as a temporary escape to the pandemic. Nowadays, iPod, laptops, cell phones, and tablets are also becoming more popular as a way to search for books to read. Most children can easily sweep their fingers on those touchscreens, choosing a lot of icons, swiping and pinching to search and get what they wanted to read. With this pandemic, there was a generational transition with technology as a part of children's daily reading habits. The transformation was so abrupt that I can call it reading on screen instead of reading on paper. And this is not only happening to children, but to their parents and to every adult as well. It became a natural routine to read and check on the news through our phones or computers. These are the actual experiences, and children are complaining during online classes. So basically, when it comes to intensive reading and learning, the paper book is still preferred. It is just that people do not have the choice because of the ongoing pandemic, which means that parents and children still love to continue the tradition to hold and read a book together, keep it in their shelves, and say, one more time, and read a book over and over again as their bedtime story while feeling calm, cozy, and comfortable with their favorite blanket and stuffed toys.
All right, thank you, Miss Mary Ann Ordinario. We'll now hear from our next reactor, okay, Miss Aurora Caro Sicat from the Board of Director of the Philippine Board on Books for Young People. Good afternoon, Miss Sicat.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. If you will allow me to share my screen, as I was listening to Mr. Frederick Perez talk, I actually took note of three things that I got from his talk. Okay, so, oh, I am not allowed to screen share. It's all right. I will just read. Okay, so I was able to get three Fs from Mr. Perez's talk. The first F is flexibility. Reading was disrupted, as he mentioned, but reading, like love, always finds a way. So, aside from modules and online distance learning, reading has also been evident in the next F, which is family. So, reading instruction is not just done by the teacher, as we have seen. Reading has become a family, a home, even a community affair. So, everybody has been working hand in hand. This brings us to the question on everyone's minds. How long will we be at home? How long will this go on? And what will happen in the future? And that is the third F. So, as Mr. Perez mentioned, one important thing that we need to remember or we need to do is to identify the reading gaps, which should be addressed when schools go back to face-to-face learning. So we do not know when that will happen, when that will be. It is good to plan for the future, okay? But as one of the priests in a mass that I heard or attended online mentioned, the more we plan for the future, the more we fail to live in the present. So let us strengthen what we have right now. So we have been navigating this new normal. Let's strengthen what we have. We already know where we, where we went wrong, what we can do better. Because the present, is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And speaking of gifts, I just want to share this quote from Kate DiCamillo. She's a very famous children's book author. Reading should not be presented to children as a chore, a duty. It should be offered as a gift. And as teachers, as parents, as learning partners, as publishers, as school administrators, as family members, as community members, let us all work hand in hand to offer that gift to the children. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Aurora Twinkle Sikat. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, for our second topic on the publishing tools for educational technology. Right, again, Miss Breezy Santiago will introduce our speaker and our reactors.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Our second speaker on the topic, Publishing Tools for Educational Technology, is Director of Persona Edu International, interactive content developer specializing in K-12, especially on mathematics and science, with over 30 years of experience in the ASEAN region. As a proof of quality, Persona Edu received various international commendations, and its interactive contents are used by highly regarded educational institutions, such as the Singapore Ministry of Education. Recently, Persona Edu Academy was established, utilizing the combination of learning management system and interactive digital textbooks to provide quality distance learning to schools and individuals in the remote areas in Indonesia. Uh, I will now introduce also Mr. Andre Candra and the reactors. Number one, Mr. Jomini Manuel Abayad graduated in Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering at the University of San Carlos Technology Center, Cebu City. He was a senior sales executive for the Philippines for Cengage Learning Asia Limited, and due to his expertise and contribution to Cengage, earned him general manager's position for the Philippines and Oceania from 2008 to 2019. Currently, he is the Vice President for Institutional Partnership for K-12 and Implementation Unit at CNE Publishing Incorporated. Our second reactor for topic 2 is Mr. Soon Lee Kang. He is the Executive Director of Pelangi Publishing Group, which is a regional educational publishing and printing company with operations in Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. He is currently the Treasurer of Malaysian Book Publishers Association and an executive committee member since 2015. Pelangi Publishing Group aims to transform itself from publishing quality education products into the educational service provider. May I now call on Mr. Andre to deliver his speech.
Good afternoon, Mr. Andre. Okay. We will talk about publishing tools for educational technology.
Hi, yeah, good afternoon, Ms. Rachel. Will we be using the recording or I also can do the live presentation, if no problem.
You're gonna go live, sir. It's okay.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Philippine Education Publisher Association. Thank you for the opportunity given to me this afternoon to present. I'm from Persona Edu. We are an education developer company developing interactive content for 30 plus years now. And we are here to introduce to you and share with you what initiative have we been doing in Indonesia and Singapore during this pandemic era. So what we will introduce is this concept called Persona Edu Academy, which is what we call the Flip School and Beyond. So as we mentioned earlier, Persona Edu has been we have been collaborating with publisher for more than 34 years. And since recently, we have been working to embed our interactive content with the publisher book since 2017. So I will show you an example of what we have been doing later and how we are trying our best to assist many schools in Indonesia to navigate the distance learning era. So I think just to reiterate what has been mentioned earlier, what is happening in the world right now, not just in the Asia, I believe also in the world, in Indonesia, in Philippines, and also in many countries, in Singapore even, is that the education system is caught unprepared because yes, I think print media is very good still, and of course it will be there for a long time. Just that print only is not suitable for distance learning because ideally in a school condition, the teacher must be there with the student. But because of the limited interaction, the teacher cannot be there with the student. The student has to be at home, and at home the situation sometimes is not conducive for learning. And what do schools try to use is that they are using learning management system. But then in many schools, in many institutions, unfortunately, for many years now, the learning management system is used mostly for what they call a system, of course, but they use it to manage, meaning they try to use it for attendance, they try to use it for school fee and announcement, which is all, of course, very good. But in this era, we need also the learning management system to be used for lesson delivery. Of course, there are a lot of schools that have been doing it well, but then we have to try to see more and more method to deliver the lesson well to students who are away from the teachers. So, of course, there's a lack of training because of the sudden nature of the situation. Many teachers are unprepared in how we can deliver the education. Many teachers are unprepared. Many parents are not prepared. The students themselves are not prepared, and we have to find a way to solve it. And last but not least, but of course, in many places, the infrastructure is lacking. Distance learning need good connection. They also need internet and things like that. So these are all challenges facing the education system today. And let's try our best to see how we can handle it. So let me demonstrate a bit of our. First of all, let me demonstrate a bit about the content. So first of all, education always begin with the content, and in this era of distance learning, the content also must be adjusted. So, okay, so this is an example of the textbook that is created by us with the help of our publisher partner. As you can see, the book are exactly the same as the printed one. It's just that the difference here is that in this book, there are interactive in the middle. So as you can see, I can move this protector here, and the interactive is here. So as you can see, this interactivity is just one small addition to how the content is presented to make the teaching and learning more engaging to the students at home who are away from the teacher. So let me show you another example. So this is the page about magnet, and then there is a content about magnet here. Okay. So this is about magnet and the poles and how they are pushing and attracting. Notice that this car, I can move it left and right, is pulled by the magnet because this is north and this is south. But if I move it around, then it will be repelled. So this is something that the student can play around with. And this is another simple example how the concept of the book is the same, just that we need to add a bit of more interactivity to engage the student. Let me show you one more example. Okay, so this is a concept called Doppler effect, which can be quite a bit of a challenging topic to explain by teachers, even in the normal school condition, because this is a concept about sound. So it's a bit difficult to explain it just using text and pictures. So, okay, let me try to explain briefly, and you can see why it's difficult. Is that Doppler effect is actually how the velocity of the object that you hear is different and changing depending on the relative velocity. So just from that explanation, you can see that I didn't explain it very clearly. And it's difficult because it's a sound concept just by text and pictures. But let the student listen to this interactive and see if they can understand it better. As you can see, the frequency of the what you hear goes up and down. This is similar to, I think, if you pass by a airport and or motor car racing, then the frequency goes up and down depending on whether the car is approaching you or going away from you. So this is what is called the Doppler effect, and this is a physics phenomenon. So when student can hear it clearly, of course, they still need to know the theory from the textbook, but they have a little bit of a more concept. And as you can see on the left here, there is a graph going up and down. It's all live calculation, all calculated based on real-time physics. So yes, the interactive must be good, must be engaging, but it also needs to be adhering to the actual physics and not just, it has to be accurate. So these are the example of the interactive that we have, and we work closely with publisher to deliver it to the school. So these are the content they are used, and let me go back to my presentation to continue the point. Okay, so I think all the interactive use is all. We have a few interactive, and we use it in our textbook, and they actually have been used in the by Singapore Ministry of Education in the student learning space. So this is just some of our partners showing that we collaborate with publishers. So the publisher and the print textbook is very, very important, and we are just adding a bit of a more interactive content. So what is the second part is the what we call the Persona Edu A class, which is earlier is what is the learning content management system. So I think what mentioned earlier, this is how we deliver the Persona Edu Academy. So on the right side, you see the interactive digital textbook is what I've shown earlier, how we deliver the content. And the left side is the LMS. I believe LCMS or LMS is something very familiar to the publisher and the schools here. So it's just a tool to create assignment and examination. And one more thing is to collaborate. So this, our solution, how we try to help the student is in Indonesia, is that how we try to combine these two systems to try to deliver as much as possible a good distance learning experience for the student, and this is what Persona Academy is doing. So in our learning management system, we can integrate the book inside, but we also have learning activities, multiple choice, and match the answer, video question response. I will show it more earlier, and also collaborative learning. Yeah. So let me demonstrate a little bit. Okay, so we are in the learning management system now, the Persona Edu plus LMS. As you can see in the bottom right, there are various books that can be opened. That is the digital book that mentioned earlier. But let me just go to the learning activity to see what I think this is many system can do this, just showing what kind of activities need to be given to students to in this time of era where they are away from the teachers all the time. So I think we just start with some sample question. Of course, this is just normal multiple choice. As you can see, we need LMS that can have a mathematical notation, and then for them to answer, this next one is multiple choice question based on the image now. Now previously just text, now image. And then the next one is matching the picture. So it's a bit of multiple choice, but then you can choose which pictures to add to the boxes. Okay, and then the next one is what we call the audio listening comprehension.
Think I'll have a big glass of cola float. What will the woman do?
Okay, so this is just a basic listening comprehension. The student is played a audio clip and then they need to answer the question on the right side. So just very standard. And then the next one is a video response question. So excuse me because will be in Bahasa Indonesia, but I believe the context is easily understood and I'll explain later. So this is what we do in Indonesia. The video will play.
Halo, jumpa lagi dalam video pembelajaran Pesona Edu. Kali ini kita akan membahas tentang gerak peluru atau biasa dikenal sebagai gerak parabola.
So as you can see, the video play automatically, and then after the student listen to the video and watch the video for a while, automatically there is a question. So they are prompted to ask the question, and then I will have to answer. And once I answer it, the video continues again for a while.
Sebagai pendahuluan, video kali ini akan menitik beratkan pada intuisi dan imajinasi pada gerak parabola. Model matematisnya akan kita bahas pada video kita selanjutnya. Gerak parabola mungkin tanpa kita sadari sering kita jumpai dalam kehidupan sehari-hari. Contohnya, lintasan bola ini. Selain lintasan bola, lintasan air mancur pun membentuk kurva parabola saat diarahkan pada suatu sudut terhadap bidang horizontalnya.
Okay, sorry about that. So the video continue again, although in Bahasa Indonesia. Maybe a little bit of context. The whole video is talking about the physics concept parabolic motion. So after the video here, the demonstrators show a bit of example, then automatically another question pops up. So this will test the student understanding while listening to the video, which is important because I think a lot of time students are just given video or book to read, but they are not tested in real time, which is what is happening, what should be happening in the school where students in real time receive the information and then they are tested immediately. So this can help to replicate a bit of that feeling. So the next question is actually what is called the audio response question. So in this place, student will need to record their response here in the audio format. And the next one is in audio format where they upload their response to the student. Record their answers to the question and then they record it so that other student and the teacher can see. So the last three parts, the video response, the video question set, and the audio and video response is actually very popular among our academic students is because these are the tools that can help to simulate what it's like in the actual classroom, because many of them has in Indonesia and maybe in some parts of in Asia also hasn't been in school for a while and they haven't seen their friend for a while. So these are the tools that help the students to experience what it's like to be back in school again. Then let me show you another way. Another way is that what we call the collaborative canvas. So this collaborative canvas, I think the concept is standard. It's just the application. This collaborative canvas is a shared learning space where all the students in the class and the teacher can post their own comment and post-it and material. So some can post a video, some can post comments, some can post pictures, and then other students can comment on it. For example, yeah. In this post, many students can comment and they can interact with one another. So this is just a bit of a shared collaborative working space to make things closer to the experience at the physical school. So let me go back to the presentation. Okay, this is also the last part of the of the A class is that, as shown earlier, there is the book shown earlier, and then what is important and missing in the actual learning is how the teacher can actually monitor the progress of the student. Even in real school is difficult, in real physical school, but now that they are away, it's very difficult. So the interactive book that is shown earlier can be analyzed. Parents and teachers can see how long the student is reading certain kind of book and how many amount of time, which is very important because then the teachers can monitor, are the students having issues, are the students having a particular interest in certain books, and how can they encourage it. It's very important because sometimes student will just not say anything, and maybe they are struggling but they're too embarrassed to say, or they are actually very interested in certain books. So if you see they are particularly reading about certain books, then you can actually ask them further and prompt them about what is going on. So why are all this important is because I think, just to quote a bit of the general evaluation. Of course, this is not everything. Any standard is not. It has its own strength and weakness, but in the last few years, PISA program for international student assessment has been championing not just literacy, math, and science, but this aspect of collaborative. So nowadays, students are required to be having collaborative activities with one another. So I think in this time of distant learning, is very difficult for students to have this collaborative. So we will try this Persona Edu Academy, and we hope many other similar initiatives all over the world will try to help the students to fulfill this requirement, to learn not just the content, but to collaborate with one another. So I think maybe I will add the last part about the Persona Academy. The Persona Edu Academy we are doing the lessons with the remote areas in Indonesia. So what we are doing is, with the tools provided earlier, the content, interactive activity, we are doing a remote class, meaning that there are many schools in Indonesia. Of course, they need to have the internet, but even without the internet, they are struggling with how to deliver the content, because for now the distant learning is only done by a Zoom call, for example. They are, or a WhatsApp shared group message where the teacher asks the student, okay, please just read page 20 of the textbook for 30 minutes and send me a report, which is good, which is important, but then they are not collaborative, and it can lead to a lot of students feeling isolated and lonely, and the experience is not the same. So there is a danger that the current batch of students in school now is having a bit of a lost experience, and we must do our best to save these students, and in order for them to have a normal education in a safe way. So what we have been doing in Indonesia is the pilot that we are doing the remote program, where our teacher or teacher that are partner with us, and the publisher is doing the lesson from Jakarta, which is the capital of Indonesia. And then in the remote areas of Indonesia, from Aceh, Papua, from the extreme east and west of Indonesia, the school are doing the distance learning. So we try to do that as much as possible, and then we hope we hope then together we can help save the education in this time. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andre Candra from Persona Edu Indonesia, Singapore. All right, now for our reactors from the previous presentations, we will have Mr. Jomini Abaya, Vice President of CNE Publishing, and the Deputy Managing Director of Pelangi Publishing Group Malaysia, Mr. Lee Kang. So we'll start with Mr. Jomini Abaya. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Andre, for a very informative presentation. Just to highlight a few things, technology indeed play an important role in our industry. Especially it bodes well with the profile of our Education 4.0 learners, which are the digital natives who are technology literate, media savvy, interactive and critical, creative, adaptive, and driven by multimodal learning styles. I've also seen that technologies has improved over the years, that it helped our educators improve the learning experience, maintain the desire of students to learn, keeping them engaged in and out of the classroom. Even in the library, technology brought efficacy in deploying academic and credible library references to our users. However, as Andre also mentioned, there are many challenges. The infrastructure, the price, the budget, the preparedness of our stakeholders, and even the mindset in adopting technology. And we all witness those challenges during the pandemic, right? However, the pandemic also pushed or taught us to adopt technology despite the challenges, as we have no choice. And publishers and academia should collaborate further on how we can overcome these challenges and surpass the birth pains of this transition. To have a proper mindset to adopt and understand the value of education technology. And lastly, all stakeholders must also understand that the content and the platform technology have proprietary value to the authors and to the developers and should be acknowledged and respected. Hence, we should be also protecting and securing this content and advocate against digital piracy. Thank you and have a pleasant day to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Jomini Abaya. Okay. So now let's hear the reaction of Mr. Lee Kang from Pelangi Publishing Group, Malaysia. Hello,
Hi,
sir.
hi, good afternoon, ladies and
Good
gentlemen.
afternoon.
A very good afternoon to everyone. Can I just share my screen? Is that all right?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, first of all, thank you very much, Pepa, for giving this opportunity to. Okay. Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Pepa, for giving this opportunity to be director of this wonderful forum. Okay. Maybe just a very quick introduction about Pelangi. Pelangi, we are actually headquartered in Malaysia. We were established in 1979. We are headquartered in Malaysia with subsidiaries in Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, UK, and we have an associate company in China. We are doing end-to-end from publishing services, from editorial, illustration, printing, and distribution services. Right. So basically, we have been in the industry for about 41 years, and even though we are based in Malaysia, we actually have offices in Thailand and Indonesia, where we are quite actively involved in the curriculum as well in the local markets. So I think Mr. Andre and Mr. Jomina have actually shared very good insights, in my opinion, about digital education, and a lot of points that I think that I acknowledge and I agree, and especially on the part that partnerships are actually very, very important moving forward, especially for educational publishing. And I just want to highlight the key observations from what we see, right, in the few key regions that we operate so far, right, since the COVID-19 pandemic happened, right. Number one, I think like what Mr. Andre brought up, basic infrastructure is still very essential for schools and homes, right. Huge investment is actually required. Internet, computers, mobile devices. So from what we have seen so far, a lot of rural areas especially, right, and a lot of homes, you might be surprised as well, even in urban areas, in big cities like Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, or even Jakarta, mobile devices or even internet accessibility is still an a major issue, right? So for digital education to happen, um, and nonetheless, digital education does help students in understanding concepts better, right? With the help of digital education, we see things like the 2D, 3D videos, animation, interactivity, augmented reality, and virtual reality, like what Mr. Andre have demonstrated earlier on. So it was definitely something very good, and it is something it is definitely the way forward in terms of a betterment of our education quality. From what we have seen so far, blended learning in terms of using physical books with digital elements seems to be the most practical at the moment. Online classes are more effective for tertiary education, largely because they are more mature, they are grown-ups. I mean, they are more teenagers. So online classes, they are able to handle it more independently as compared to preschoolers or even primary school, elementary school students. K to 12 classes, most of them they will require supervision. Teachers are definitely one of the main a major, you can say, obstacle, or you can say barrier, or you can say opportunity, right? Teachers will need to be well trained for online teaching as well as their digital skills. A lot of teachers that we found out, they did not even know how to use Zoom, or they do not even know how to operate their computer well. So some of these trainings need to be given to teachers, right, for digital education to work well. So and what we also discovered was that more educational contents are still needed to be converted or produced in digital format. We have a lot of physical book content, right? In big educational publishing houses across the world, you will see that the files are lying in design files, or lying in PDF files, but a lot of them still need to be turned into more interactive format, like 2D or 3D animations or augmented reality, in order for this to be more interesting for the children. And because of all these restrictions, we find that more studies actually need to be conducted, right, for pedagogies for teaching digital concepts in non-digital ways. Such things including computational thinking or unplugged coding. So we have also seen some new products that came out that actually don't require computers, but they actually are there because for K-12 students it's mostly the concepts. So how do you actually bring up this, have teaching tools that actually enable the students to learn these concepts without having all these equipments that require heavy investment? So we find that this is an area of opportunity, and this is an area that still requires a lot of studies, right? And parents are definitely now more involved in their children's learning sessions as the learning enablers of online learning. Without the parents sitting next to the children, we find that a lot of kids actually are not disciplined enough, right, to actually go through the online classes themselves independently. So parents are definitely now more involved because more and more of them work from home. More and more are engaged with what their children are learning. So they are definitely more involved now, and they know, and they actually can assist their children in this space. Okay, and lastly, I think this is something that may not have been mentioned more, which I think personnel, I mean staff at conventional educational publishing houses today, I think a lot of them still need to be upskilled and reskilled to meet the digital revolution, paradigm shift, and mindset change. From what we see so far, right, editors are very stuck at at what they do. They are very good at what they do, but when this digital wave comes about, the first thing they will jump out and they will say, I don't know anything about digital. I don't know what is an augmented reality. I don't know what is an animation. I have no clue how to run a Google Classroom. So this has to be changed. And I believe if you ask a lot of the top management in educational publishing houses today, what training can you give staff for this kind of upskilling and reskilling? Hardly any, and staff, the personnel themselves will really have to be learning all this on their own, right? And trying to go for any online courses, any free webinars, and just Google and just try and learn it. And this requires, I think, major investment and major initiatives within the educational publishing houses themselves, right? So mainly these are the 8 main observations that I've seen in digital education and in react to Mr. Andre's presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lee Kang, okay, from Pelangi Publishing Group, Malaysia.
You're welcome.
Right. So, okay, thank you, sir. All right. So, once again, okay, for our last set of speaker and reactors on the topic redesigning the publisher's game plan for distance learning, I'd like to call Miss Breezy Santiago to introduce them.
Our last speaker for the third topic, redesigning publishers' game plan for distance learning, is Miss Myla Katsap. She is the General Manager of Idea Academy, the agent company representing McGraw-Hill in the Philippines since 2010, and 17 years experience working in the education sector, and in recent years, specializing in education technology onboarding. She forged enterprise deals with major universities in the Philippines, covering multiple solutions, multiple campuses from grade 3 to college courses. Myla has a master's degree in business administration from the Ateneo Graduate School and an undergraduate degree in tourism at the University of the Philippines. For our reactor, we have Mr. Paul Baloha. He is the head of brand and digital marketing of Vival Group and spearheads the brand manager and digital marketing initiatives of Vival Group. He was also part of Lean Live Augmented Reality, a first ever mobile application that integrated augmented technology into textbooks. He was the speaker at DepEd Cyber Expo.
Hello, Miss Breezy.
We
Hello?
have our second reactor. We have Mr. Andrew De Jesus. He is a graduate of BS in Industrial Design at De La Salle University College of St. Benilde. He joined their family business, and to further enhance his skills, the company sent him to various short courses in educational technology and school benchmarking at Frankfurt, Singapore, United Kingdom, USA, and many more. His experiences in those trips has gained him substantial knowledge of edutech and the practical applications in Philippine education. In 2011, the F&J De Jesus Digital Department came forth, and with acquired knowledge of edutech, Andrew has developed e-products specifically tailored to the Philippine infrastructure capabilities and the Department of Education new K-12 curriculum. May we now call on Myla to start today's speech.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Myla Katsav, and our company represents McGraw-Hill in the Philippines. And today, I'm going to be presenting to you on redesigning the publisher's game plan for distance learning. This is my agenda. So I will start with the trends in education, followed by McGraw-Hill's journey from a publishing company to a learning science company. And then I will be speaking mostly about the local Philippine team's transition to education technology. Okay. So let's start with the trends in education. We are already starting with the fourth industrial revolution, with the rise of robotics, artificial intelligence, big data, the internet of things. And so we see education changing. And some of these trends would be that technology is taking center stage. We're changing an important role of the teacher, and that learning environments are now becoming more student-centric. And of course, there is this push to focus on soft skills training like critical thinking, problem solving skills, creativity, and collaboration, to name a few. And but for this year, um, the technology taking a center stage has been pushed further by COVID-19. So personally, I would think that it would take us around another 10 years to really um, use technology and go for a remote type of learning. So this was pushed early on by COVID-19. So I just want to focus more on technology. With technology, we see the rise of the learning management systems. So it started with higher education institutions a few years ago. And this year, we see them trickling it down to their grade and high schools. But with the learning management system, there is also a need for integration. So integration means that institutions would want that whatever digital platforms that they will subscribe to, this will have an integration, the capability of integrating into their learning management system. So right now we see grade and high schools of with a higher education institution using this learning management system. We will see moving forward that other grade and high schools will follow suit in subscribing to learning management systems. We see the rise of artificial intelligence and adaptive technology, which are capable of providing personalized learning and scaling it to all the student population. We see more and more are requiring virtual reality like virtual labs and simulations. There is an increase of subscription for assessment and proctoring software. And of course, the most important part of succeeding in introducing technology in education is really also the implementation. And so for McGraw-Hill, it is a 125-year journey from being a publishing company to a learning science company. In fact, our future has already started, wherein McGraw-Hill harnesses the power of technology and data to serve educators and students in ways never before possible. And really, artificial intelligence and adaptive technology is really making a big difference in education. And so our transformation is ongoing. As you can see, early in the 2000s, McGraw-Hill launched Connect, which is the higher education's all digital teaching and learning platform. And this is our best selling digital platform to date for higher education. And in 2018, for the first time, the higher education division reported that their digital subscription has surpassed that of the print, and that was in 2018. And as we all know this year, I think all of us, and for McGraw-Hill, all the countries have reported that their digital sales surpassed their print sales, brought about by COVID-19. And so for McGraw-Hill, having cool technology is not enough. So with innovative technology, they combined it with the three main important factors for a successful solution. One is the in-depth understanding of how students learn. So McGraw-Hill had to work with cultural anthropologists to study the behavior of students inside and outside of the classroom. Proven research-based content, and so we all know that McGraw-Hill is rich in content, plus analytics and support to ensure instructor success. So all of this combined would result to a more engaging learning experience for the students. And when you have that, then definitely they will have better outcomes and skills. And so in the Philippines, as I've said, our transitions it started 10 years ago when we started the company. But we felt a huge boost in our digital subscriptions, specifically for higher education, around 3 to 4 years ago. And again, this year with COVID-19, it really pushed us to go all the way digital from grade school, high school, senior high school to the higher education institutions. And so as we transition, we aim to empower our institutional partnerships by providing services like enterprise, wherein you have multiple solutions to multiple campuses and multiple grade levels. And so how did we do the transition? Well, it all starts with us, the leaders. So I'm sure a lot of us here would head a division or a company. And I think any transformation, it all starts with us. We have to lead the way. And in leading the way, that would mean accepting and embracing the future of education, which is technology. Changing of the mindset is really very important, actually. Here, you start with understanding the role of technology. So you need to research a lot about the benefits of technology. You really get to know about it by reading white papers and case studies, and combine this with experiencing technology. And that means that I really had to sit down and spend hours experiencing our different platforms. And so once I have an understanding of our tools and the features and having that change in the mindset, then I am able to properly promote our solutions, spearhead the various implementation activities from first day of class and beyond. And of course, we should not forget our print business. So there you have to learn how to balance your time between the new solutions brought about by technology and of course your print. Okay. And so when us as a leader, when we are prepared to transition, then when we are able to transition ourselves, then we are now ready to transition our sales team from print supplier to solutions provider. And so I can identify two important factors here that we really have to cover. One is changing the mindset of our sales team and building solid relationships that is quite different from how we were doing it for the print. So let's look at changing the mindset. So this one involves making technology as part of your goals. It can be a daily conversation, a monthly or annually. We need to provide continuous training to our sales team, and that involves training with the experts, providing them the opportunity to self-study, shadow learning. So I did a lot of shadow learning, which means that I had to present to my team, show them how it's being done, show them how the teacher training is being done, and all the other sessions as well. And only by this shadow learning, once I get more confident, we get confidence about each other's capability, then do I allow them to take center stage. That would mean that they might take a part of the session, handle a part of that session, until such time that they can eventually take the lead. So taking the lead means that they will initiate all the activities from introducing themselves to the clients, to presenting, to discussing about implementation, and up to the end of the school year activities. And again, I would like to stress that our sales team need to experience technology. They need to have a deep dive kind of experience with the different platforms that we are going to push to the market. Because that's the only way for them to be able to really promote it properly, and especially to be able to scale it further. Okay. And working as a team to build confidence is also important. So versus leaving each of your sales team on their own to learn how to deal with the transformation, So working as a team is really it has a faster way of building confidence in your sales team. So we always work for when we do our sessions, we always have at least two people in that session uh, to build confidence towards each other. Okay. Next is building solid relationships. So we need to acknowledge that the needs of our clients have changed. Some they are not even aware of, and we all know that right now with the way the remote learning is coming up. And we need to see our clients as partners in its truest meaning. So this means that if before, when we were selling the printed books, um, we will just deliver the printed book to them, wait for 3 weeks for them to get back to us with their feedback and talk about the price. Now with technology, you need to go a lever, you need to go higher than that one. So this means really understanding the current situation of your client, um, be able to identify what it is that they want to achieve, finding solution to all their problems, and to meet their objectives of the future. Okay, so by doing this, meetings become more engaging, they become more meaningful, and so they become more sticky. And then we have all stakeholders are given importance. So if before we only talk to the principals, we talk to the coordinators with regards to price, availability of a printed book. Now we think about student performance as the end goal here. And of course, all the other stakeholders contribute to that, but really it's the student performance that takes center stage in a successful digital implementation. And so there is a goal shift to successful implementation, which is my last item. Implementation is key when you when you deploy a digital platform into the various into your to your clients. So when I say implementation, I refer to the support that we provide at every step of the way. So this support will be services from first day of class to end of school year. We have our local DLC team. DLC stands for the Digital Learning Consultants. They work very closely with our sales team. In fact, most of us are sales and digital and DLCs. And so as a team, we continuously improve and create tools to improve our services and processes. We identify best practices from mistakes, use this to be more efficient. We customize templates depending on the needs of the client because our goal is really to be able to provide effective and efficient processes. If you want to know more about McGraw-Hill's support at every step, you can visit this link and you will see the support of McGraw-Hill. So we follow the 6-phase success framework. In here, as you can see, there are 6 phases in a successful implementation. The first 2 phases are initiated by the sales team. And then on the third phase, this is where the sales and the implementation team would come together, review all the data that was collected by the sales team, come up with a decision. And the 4th, 5th, and 6th phases are initiated by the implementation team with the support of the sales team. So we follow this framework when we do our implementation. And we have all these people on post to provide the implementation. And so finally, what are my takeaways in experiencing this transformation? So one is that mistakes are lessons to learn. So these are actually opportunities to create best practices. For me, best practices are amazing tools to create because then they guide you in how to be more efficient, how to be more effective in implementing a digital platform. Next, nothing is more empowering than a solid team. We have, as leaders, we have to bring our team to a solid, to solidify our team. And there is nothing more important than this one. Okay. And finally, success motivates, but a sense of meaning inspires. So what we are always reminding ourselves that we are in a very important era of education, wherein we help institutions transition from print to digital. So we understand that we play a very important role, and this inspires us every day. And so, with this inspiration, we are able to um, orient thousands of students. We are able to train hundreds of teachers. We are able to deploy thousands of courses online. And inspiration really pushes a person to go beyond his capability. And so this ends my presentation. If you want to know more about what we do, or you're interested to know more about our digital platforms, you may get in touch with me through this email and my mobile number. Thank you very much and have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Myla Katsab from McGraw-Hill Education. Okay, by the way, we already have posted the link for the evaluation in the chat box, so kindly check them later for your e-certificates. All right, now, okay, to hear from our reactors for the topic redesigning the publisher's game plan for distance learning, we'll have Mr. Paul Baloha, Head of Brand and Digital Marketing of Vibal Group, followed by Mr. Fidel Andrew De Jesus, the Manager for Sales, Marketing, and Support Group of F&J De Jesus. So, Mr. Baloha, hello, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to extend our thanks, of course, to Pepa for inviting us over for this conversation, and we really appreciate your invitation. And of course, to Ms. Myla Kadsa for such a wonderful talk. One of the highlights of the talk that was conducted by Ms. Myla was the mindset, changing mindset. I feel like as publishers, it's a responsibility to be the leaders, but in leading the schools, parents, students in the direction that they are supposed to take. Especially that everyone, when the pandemic started, everyone was clueless on where to go, what to do, right? So as publishers, realize that it is us who should be at the front end of this battle. So we started with mindset, fixing mindset. From business as usual, we pivoted to a mindset of business continuity, and from there we take a step back and look into the challenges. We look into the challenges that we are currently facing, because it is in the recognition of these challenges that we are able to come up with effective strategies and identifying tools that will bring us to come up with an effective response to these challenges. So first and foremost, we have the disruption in traditional teaching and learning. It's everyone was shocked, basically, on how they're going to deal with the current status of education, because everyone was, we had to cut classes. All of a sudden, we had to come up with ways for us to be able to continue these schools to operate and to provide students the education, the quality education still that they deserve to get. But then there goes the digital divide within sectors of society, wherein access to mobile devices and internet connectivity varies significantly from a student to another. It depends on a child's household, location, and economic background. So we cannot just push technology forward. Although it is the right way to do it, it is the most effective way to do it, you cannot just simply shove it in their faces, because it's not at all easy for them, because there are things that have to be taken into consideration of. And another worry is that the quality of delivering instruction might be compromised. And finally, of course, since parents will come into the picture, we also had to look into the lack of training in formal education of the parents, let alone, of course, their struggle in time management. So the strategy basically was to go and to reach as far audience as we could. So Vibal made use of social media to reach as much and disseminate helpful information and useful materials for teachers' professional development. And of course, part of our job in Vibal is to make sure that we boost teachers' morale. So the content that we produce on social media are basically, besides providing professional development training and materials, also um, you know trying to look or to look into ways or to find ways to make sure that teachers would still laugh and teachers would still appreciate their purpose as educators. And of course, finally, we have to be inclusive in our plans. So we need to provide learning program for parents. Vibal has the Smart Courseware. So basically, it's a distance learning platform where teachers, students, parents can actually take classes online. It's like Coursera or edX, basically distance learning courses. And of course, we also had Learn at Home program. It's a series of webinars that we do for parents to assist them and guide them in providing measures and tools and strategies to conduct online learning or distance learning with their children. Wherein we also provided accessible print and online platforms or materials. So we basically pivoted to technology use because even the employees of Vibal had to use the technology because we had to pivot from the typical face-to-face setup to work from home setup. Good thing Vibal has the right artillery to continue and to carry on with the current technologies that we have. So all we had to do was to redefine these technologies and make sure that this will be able to bring us, at the end of the, I mean, at the end of the road. I mean, by that I meant that we are able to continue with our operations and help educators and parents this time around to move forward in this so-called new normal education. In Dibal, we called it Education X because we had no, everything was vague. We had no clue on on which strategies and methodologies are effective for the Philippines, for the education system of the Philippines. And finally, of course, we had to update the brand portfolio and develop products that answer key pain points of the new normal in education. So, of course, as a response, we needed to establish measures within the organization that will keep everyone safe. So, in designing products, we had to take that into consideration. We had to prioritize that. Safety basically is the key consideration in designing our new normal products. And we had to broaden our focus. We needed to expand our focus from school only to including the parents in the product design and strategy. We had to make sure that the weaknesses of the parents, especially that they are not as trained in formal education, are taken into consideration in these product designs. And of course, empowering teaching capacities of our educators and giving schools a variety of tools and options to maintain the quality of teaching that fit, this is very important, that fit their students' profiles the most. Because again, not all students can adjust to online learning. When we say distance learning, it doesn't always have to be online learning. So what Vibal did was it created a variety of products, of tools that schools can use. So we didn't only focus on learning management system. We also covered print. We still produced print, but not textbooks because there like 7 months back there was like a theory that schools will not be able to return to the face-to-face set up, and true enough, it didn't happen because we all had to carry on while students are learning at home. So good thing that Vibal was able to produce modular learning materials that will serve as an alternative to textbooks that are much more appropriate for students and parents, that are easy for them to use, and that would help them adjust more effectively to the new normal in education. So that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Baloha from Vibal Group. And now finally, let's hear it from Mr. Fidel Ando de Jesus from F&J de Jesus Incorporated. Good
Thank,
afternoon, Mr. De Jesus.
good afternoon. Thank you very much for the insightful talk, Miss Myla. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew De Jesus, the VP for Sales and Marketing of F&J De Jesus Incorporated. Our company resells on an exclusive basis award-winning digital programs for the Philippine market. Thank you, Pepa, and all its members and directors for inviting me to be a reactor at this event. We have been selling digital education content for K-12 and tertiary level since 2011. When we started, we did not have any clue on how to sell digital content here in the Philippines. To start, we attended various edtech exhibits and seminars around the world to familiarize ourselves with what is available in the market. But before that, we armed ourselves with the knowledge on the Philippines markets and needs. I would like to, on a short basis, expand further as a reseller on what Ms. Myla said at her talk. First, our company set its goals on what type of solutions or digital content we would want to sell in the Philippine market. We at FNJ Desus decided that we are only going for the best practice programs for K-12. As you know, we experience here in the current pandemic a very small portion of best practice with regards to digital content. So we wanted beforehand to have products that has wide variety of experience with regards to that matter. We wanted the Filipino child to be afforded with the best proven solutions. That is why we set our eyes on only award-winning programs. We know that these programs are going to be useful and effective in uplifting the quality of education in the Philippines. When we had an inkling on what digital content we want to sell, we underwent intensive negotiations with the publisher. Once those conditions are met, we go through a rigorous product and sales training. It was a lot of studying and adjusting our marketing strategy based on our mistakes and what additional information we learned. Through these experiences, I will enumerate some best practice in sales and marketing that we have adopted. Of course, know your market in terms of readiness, infrastructure and need. This was expounded and this was sped up with the current with the current pandemic in terms of readiness and infrastructure. Number two, have a competent, well-versed sales team who knows the product through and through. Most especially edtech products have a lot of features or are feature rich. Localized presentation and training materials. Accommodate pricing to match local versions. It is a must to show proof of concept to trials and pilots. Build a sizable product support group for implementation. And lastly, realize that selling edtech solutions requires a lot of human resource for support to have success in selling in the Philippine market. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for the Vice President of FNJ De Jesus, Mr. Fidel Ando De Jesus. All right, if you have questions for our speakers, you may email them directly. Okay, their email addresses, they've okay, there. The email addresses are now on the screen, and you may also send your questions through pepasecretariat@gmail.com, and we will gladly forward them to our speakers. Okay? To formally close our session, let's hear from the Vice President of PEPA, Ms. Danda Buhain, for the closing remarks.
Good afternoon to all. I would like to thank all the wonderful people who spoke in this afternoon's forum, The Changing Landscape in Educational Publishing. Reevaluate, retool, redesign. It was indeed an amazing lineup, starting with Mr. Frederick Perez, who spoke about reading habits of children in the new normal and how this very important skill can benefit our learners and become a great motivation to any individual to do better in life. Followed by Mr. Andre Kandra, who shared with us his expertise on the right tools to be used by us publishers in developing educational technology products that will help teaching and learning more meaningful and fun. and will aid in the collaboration among students through application of these EdTech resources. And lastly, Ms. Myla Katsav, who spoke about redesigning the publisher's game plan for learning. That despite the pandemic, we publishers can still be and remain relevant. We just have to embrace and understand the demands of the changing times or landscape of learning and education. So we publishers can come up with strategies and initiatives that will help us or in reinventing ourselves. And to all the reactors who are here this afternoon, who joined us, all of you taking time out of your busy and personal and professional schedules mean the world to us. I hope that all of you had a meaningful afternoon. And while it appears that we will have to continue to face more challenges in the coming year, it is reassuring that we will be facing them as a unified, hopeful force. Again, I will not end the speech without saying quality books, quality learning is equivalent to quality life. Again, my name is Danda Buhain, the first Vice President of the Philippine Educational Publishers Association. We are proudly PEPA. Good afternoon po.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Buhain. All right, and to our speakers, to our reactors, to our guests, thank you so much for attending our webinar. Maraming salamat po. And we are the Philippine Educational Publishers Association, your partner in uplifting the educational industry towards world-class standards. And we are committed to help our educators in providing quality books, quality learning, quality life. And we are proudly PEPA. And that concludes our forum. We shall see you again next year for the 2021 PEPA Convention. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great weekend.